Hey everyone, Kevin here. In this video, I'm gonna give you my quick take on whether or not I believe there will actually be a second stimulus bill. Because if you pay attention to the news, well, first of all you're gonna hear right now is that Trump fired his inspector general on Friday evening, and that's been all over the news because potentially he was investigating Mike Pompeo, which might have to do with the Michael Flynn case, which was dropped, and a lot of people on the left are upset about that and think it's an injustice, and a lot of people on the right are, let's just focus on other things. There's so much drama and disaster in the news. I'm just trying to bring you more kind of streamlined info here, and let's just talk about what we care about and what we need, which is the stimulus checks. We need another round of stimulus. There's no doubt about that. Let me make this very simple. There's so much that is being said over, well, we don't need to go into more debt. We don't need to give out more stimulus checks, or we don't have enough money to give out more stimulus checks. It's nonsense. The Federal Reserve, the Treasury Department, Donald Trump, Democrats, and many Republicans, and most importantly, endless economists have made it very, very clear that now is not the time to think about the potential deficit of giving out money or direct payments to individuals, because the damage of not doing that would be far greater than the debt. Think about it. It's a lot easier to have a really good and strong economy and pay off the country's debt than have an economy that's been devastated. When the Federal Reserve comes out and says that 40% of people who are laid off are not going to get their jobs back, and when people go back to work, people are going to probably get paid somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% less, that's a sign that the longer this pandemic lasts, the more damage, more long-term damage we have to our economy, which is much more damaging than how much a potential next round of stimulus is going to cost. But I found a very interesting interview that I thought shed a little bit of light from the Republican point of view as to what might actually happen with this bill. There was a representative that is a Republican. His name is Adam Kinzinger, and he, initially started with some Republican ideals and said, look, this is a November bill, which just implies that, look, this is just a Christmas tree of a bill to be kind of a rallying cry for the election. Okay, that's a fair thing to say. I mean, it's a Republican thing to say, whether it's fair or not, whatever, but it's something that is being said. And then he says we need to resist this bill, that this bill is not a real attempt to govern, and that this is disappointing. But this was the interesting part. He says, don't worry, quote, the adults will take over in the Senate, which I thought this was fascinating because dude, you're in the House. You're calling yourself not an adult. You're basically calling yourself a child by implication here. And then so I spent pretty much all of today thinking to myself, okay, well, what usually happens? How do these bills actually get passed? And maybe that's gonna give me some insight into what I could expect. So that way we can kind of just get rid of all this muddiness and see what actually happens. Rather than just give some random BS opinion, let's see what actually happens in the past and what people are actually saying. The people who have money, they're saying go ahead and do it. And so then I got motivated to look at the CARES Act number 1, HR 748, and take a look at this. This is fascinating. When we look at this bill was actually introduced into the House on January 24th, 2019, which is over a year before the actual Rona happened. This is back when I had actually started releasing my really amazing real estate investing course and my psychology of money program, link down below, coupon code down there, by the way. Sorry, I had to say it. But that's weird, right? And this actually passed in the House on July 17th, 2019 and was sent over to the Senate. Well, that's weird because the Rona didn't exist then. So this bill was actually a bill that was passed by the House months before the Rona. Which half of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is a conspiracy. No. I actually think that what's happening here is these large kind of Christmas tree bills get talked about and negotiated for months. And there's a lot of back and forth that happens for very long periods of time. Except in March, this was on the table over at the Senate. And so then you get to thinking, okay, well, we know we got to work on a bunch of the bills that are already on the table. Now we've got this pandemic. Okay, we're the Senate. Let's put this together. And so what do they put it together with? Well, they put it together with the CARES Act that they already have. But not only the CARES Act they already have, but look at this. According to govtrack.us, look at how much legislation, how many bills were incorporated into this. Look at this off the top here. A Senate bill, a House bill, a House bill, a Senate bill. There's the actual, look at that. That one actually says CARES Act out of all these other things. I mean, here, irresponsible relief. Here's one from the Senate, the Senate, the Senate, the Senate. I mean, they're all over the place here. These are a ton of bills. I mean, look at this one. The Healthy Start Reauthorization Act of 2019, 99% incorporated. Here's one, a bill to authorize the SBA to subsidize payments. See, that was introduced on March 18th, so that's more of a recent one. But this one over here was actually introduced on on October 23rd of 2019, and it was still 99% incorporated. This is a lot. I mean, this is like 50 bills of a kitchen sink that go into the CARES Act that was originally passed. And so right now, the bill that we currently have, the HEROES Act, is kind of a kitchen sink already, but now it's on over to the Senate to go through and make the changes and modifications to it, which that's good. Because when we hear things like, oh my gosh, what are the odds of another stimulus check? And the Republicans say this bill's dead on arrival. And the president says he's going to veto this. This isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen. No chance. We have to look at, wait a minute. This is totally normal. It's totally normal for these massive bills to get moved around and all this political yelling and screaming happens. That's just for the show almost. Like Balloon Boy was for the show. I saw that live. That was a freaky show. But what's more interesting here is it doesn't actually look like we should expect to see the $2,000 per month potential plan. And I say that even despite the fact that the co-sponsorship for the Emergency Money for the People Act continues to increase. In fact, here it is. Here's that Emergency Money for the People Act, H.R. 6496. This bill has increased now to 39 co-sponsors. And you think, well, why didn't they kitchen sink this in? I don't know. But they didn't. They could have easily kitchen sinked this in. And apparently, in order for a bill like this to pass, it has to be kitchen sinked in. You saw how many of those other bills get sort of integrated. This was the one that says everybody gets $2,000 per month for 6 months, potentially up to 12 months, as long as you're 16 years old and within certain income thresholds, which were actually larger than the first round of stimulus. That is, more people would be eligible for it. And I mean, look, we know that co-sponsorship does not necessarily indicate that something's going to pass, but it's certainly a sign that more and more people are talking about it. But in this case, it looks like this was left out because it's not part of the HEROES Act. $2,000 a month doesn't look like it's going to happen because here's that 1,800-page bill, H.R. 6800, that already passed the House within 3 days of being submitted and only had 11 co-sponsors. So yeah, we somewhat know that. We know that co-sponsorship is really just kind of waving a flag and saying, hey, please incorporate me into the big bill, please. But it looks like the $2,000 per month got left out. The $1,200 is in. And so now the big question comes, well, what are the odds the $1,200 stimulus check is actually going to happen? Well, before I say, I have to remind you to use that coupon code down below to join me in my amazing programs. Of course, sign up for life insurance. Remember, it literally takes you 4 minutes. Before this video is over, you could click that link in the description down below, open up the link to get life insurance, Apple Pay for it, and it's done. I actually posted, because somebody didn't believe me, like one random person didn't believe me that I actually used this life insurance, so I posted a picture on Instagram, on my stories, of my transaction history with Apple Pay, showing that I actually Apple Pay $50 a month for a $1 million life insurance policy that I signed up for within minutes. And of course, get your 2 free stocks with Webull. Yes, that promotion is back. You deposit just $100 with the stock trading platform Webull, and you could get in to trading stocks, building your wealth and money. Of course, check out my program on how to actually trade stocks and build your wealth as well. Okay, now, what do I actually think? Do I actually think this is going to pass? By the way, sorry, I have to say this. I am never going to pitch a crypto coin to you. I would rather give you tried and true ways of building wealth. Look, is there a chance you're going to hit the lottery with the cryptos? Maybe. But look, when the SEC warns that most of these coins are basically Ponzi schemes, I'm just saying, y'all be careful. I'll put that link down below again for that. So, is this bill actually going to pass? My belief is the answer is yes. I believe this bill will pass because it is normal to have a Christmas tree bill. If a bill's gonna show up on Donald Trump's desk, they'd rather it have like everything possible in it. Of course, it was started by the Democrat-controlled House, just like the CARES Act was. And yeah, some things are going to get kicked out. But my belief is we're waiting for Mitch McConnell to come up with his verbiage on liability protections. He's going to slide an extra 20 pages in on liability protections. Then they're going to go through and take some pages and go, money for prisons and cannabis? Nope. Money for the food stamp program? Nope. And then they're going to take that now 1,800 or 1,900 page bill or 2,000 page bill and send it back over to the House. And then the House is going to go, man, we didn't get the food stamp money or the prisons or the cannabis. Hey, yo, can we get the cannabis back here? No. All right. Okay. All right. Sign. Boom. It's my expectation that this bill is going to be done this month, which means we could potentially see our stimulus checks by the end of June. That's not fast. And I know it's not as much as we want. I know it's $1,200 per person within the income thresholds, and it's $1,200 per dependent instead of $500. But it does give you that retroactive $500. But this is my belief. This puts it all together for me. I don't believe the money this bill is going to cost matters, because I believe in what almost every single Federal Reserve chairman or president of their own bank has said, that now is not the time to focus on the debt. These are the bankers. The economists are saying our economy will be long-term screwed. We could potentially see a Great Depression if we don't have other stimulus. Are there things in here that are problems? Yeah. But remember what Republicans are not saying. Republicans are not saying, no more stimulus checks. Nobody's saying that. The only thing we're hearing on the news is, well, this is dead on arrival. They put cannabis in there 68 times. Not only did they put cannabis in there 68 times, but they said the word higher less than they should. And you know what? This is just dead on arrival. It's not going to pass. Okay, well then modify it and make it pass. That's what's going to happen. And that's what's normal. I'm not taking sides. I don't care. I just want to give you some realistic insight. And me personally, seeing this thing about how so many bills get incorporated into one big bill, and the fact that this CARES Act has been around since July, either means that, well, I'm not going to say because I don't believe it. I don't think that there's a conspiracy. I'm probably going to get hate for that in the comments, but it just goes to show you how Congress actually works, right? It shows that these are normal to have these massive bills, and they usually take months to pass. And so you do end up with a bill that's thousands of pages long. That's how work gets done in Congress these days. That's why lobbyists exist, because the lobbyist comes over and goes, hey, can you slide this page in for me? Yeah, salt tax deductions just for 2020 and 2021. Can we slip that in there? Look, it's only this long. It only takes up half of a page. It doesn't even take up a full page. It doesn't even bump the page number count. Huh? What do you think? We'll donate money to your campaign. Okay, we'll slide it in there. That's politics. Everything in politics is about, okay, we'll slide it in there. So let's see what the Senate has to slide in. And hopefully now you slide down to the description, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for some realistic perspective, and go in a little bit deeper. You know, I know sometimes my channel isn't the most simple, and I know sometimes things might be a little bit harder to follow, but I do my best to simplify things that are very, very complicated so that we can all have more of an understanding of how our government and how the systems of our country actually work. Because guess what? It's that same kind of understanding that you need to be able to build wealth. It's not taught in our schools. How to build wealth, buying below market value real estate or investing in stocks, and the psychology of money, that's not taught anywhere because it is a little bit more complicated. But if we can simplify these things, I think we can all look at things a little bit more realistically. And to me, I think realism is the most important thing that we could find on YouTube, with the exception of some of the other funny videos like the Kevin James and Will Smith in I Am Legend. Okay, that was pretty good. All right, thanks folks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.